South African Football Association President Danny Jordaan, his future appears to hang in the balance. It follows a raid by the Hawks. This is over a 1.3 million rand fraud and theft allegations that are linked to the soccer boss. SAFA has slammed the raid, describing it as shameful and aimed at tarnishing Jordaan's name. Let's speak now to the former SAFA CEO, Dennis Mumble. Mr. Mumble, good evening to you and thank you for your time. Let's start with your quick reaction to that Hawks raid on Friday at the SAFA headquarters. What does this signify for you?
Hi, good evening to you, Claudia, and good evening to the viewers out there. Friday was a bit of a surprise to me. We submitted our reports 4 years ago. Almost 4 years ago. May of this year would be exactly 4 years since I submitted my report for consideration by the National Executive Committee, who then promptly rejected that report without even discussing it. So one NEC member then took that report and extracted 3 items from that report because he felt there were some criminal activities involved in those 3 issues, and then referred the matter to the police. So we've been waiting for 4 years. We provided all of the evidence that was available to us to the police, and so we were waiting, and so it came as a bit of a surprise to me when I got the news. Actually, someone posted on a WhatsApp group something to the effect that Scorpions are telling him that the Hawks are at SAFA House. So yeah, I'm glad that it's hopefully it will start coming to an end, because this thing has dragged on for much too long.
Do you view it as a positive development in finally dealing with the allegations of corruption within SAFA?
I'm hoping so. I've raised a number of things in a 71-page report, which I had hoped that the custodians of the game, the National Executive Committee, would deal with those issues, because it's a mixture of governance issues, and as I said before, one of the NEC members felt very strongly that this must be referred to the police because there could possibly be some criminality involved. Now, that's not for us to state, that's for a court of law, or for the police to investigate, and a court of law to determine finally whether there is or is not criminality involved. But we felt very strongly, or I felt very strongly in my report, that yes, these things were problematic from a governance standpoint, and it needed to be addressed, and it clearly was not addressed. So it's good that it's gotten to this stage. I believe that the fact that they conducted the raid, that there is a plausible case to be made that what we have alleged went wrong there, or that was done wrong, that this matter can now proceed forward. So I think I'm in a happy space that this is actually coming to this point, or that's come to this point now.
Yeah. The Sunday Times report today outlines a number of contracts that came into question, and these were flagged through your report that was submitted to the NEC. And I want to deal with a specific one relating to the PR firm, the public relations firm, Grit Communications. Trevor Neathling from that firm responding to the Sunday Times saying, at no stage during the contract was his company ever told that this contract with SAFA was unlawful. Why was this never communicated to that PR firm, if indeed you felt strongly as the accounting officer that the contract was implemented without following due process?
Chloe, if I may just provide some context to why I put this complaint in my report. You see, SAFA is an organization with rules and regulations. It has a constitution, which we call the SAFA statutes. In that constitution is a division of responsibilities, or a separation of powers, more commonly known in governance circles. And that separation of powers determine who can do what within the organization, so that there is a balance of power and also an accountability system established within the organization through its regulatory framework. Now, this regulatory framework makes it very clear that the CEO, along with the CFO and the general manager of the division, are the only ones empowered to sign commercial contracts on behalf of the association. So when this one contract for this communications company was sent to me from the president's office, I rejected it, and I said I refused to sign this contract because we didn't at that point need this particular PR service, and I thought it was a conflict of interest because the person and the company that I met in late 2017 was actually the company that dealt with the president's personal issues. And I felt it would be inappropriate for this company to be appointed to provide PR services. And besides, there was never a need for a PR agency to be appointed in any way. We cannot come with post facto arguments to say that the service was needed. It was my decision to be made. And so I refused to sign it. What happened then? The president went and signed the contract himself, and he has absolutely no powers to do so. The Constitution is very clear. In terms of that separation of powers principle, only the CEO, the CFO, and the general manager of the division can sign a commercial contract. Now, we don't necessarily, I think, want to put the blame on the communications company. The focus here is that someone internally within SAFA did something wrong, and there must be accountability for that. So he may be correct in that he was clearly under the impression that I don't think he knew necessarily what the internal policies of the organization were or are. So yes, there is no way that he would have known that it was inappropriate for the president to have signed that contract.
Yeah.
So we were sitting with a conundrum, at that time. What do we do going forward on this matter?
All right.
It is one of many things that I complained about, which I would hope that would be dealt with internally, and it was summarily rejected. So yes, the focus here is at a complaint against someone internal to SAFA itself.
Final question, Mr. Mumble, and very briefly if you can, I'm out of time. But it's going to be two questions in one. I'm sorry for this. It would seem to me that the biggest wastage by SAFA was the 65 million rand Fun Valley contract. Who signed that contract? Who should be held accountable? And, might we add, the future of the SAFA president? Do you believe that perhaps this could be the time that he throws in the towel, basically he resigns?
Well, I've made my views known based on my experiences over 5 years as the CEO at the South African Football Association and the difficulties that I had with the SAFA president. I believe that he is just not fit to be the president of the Football Association, but that's a personal opinion, given my working relationship with him and the interference, constant interference in my work, which I think was untenable, and that's the reason why I decided to leave the association. Now, in terms of the Fun Valley contract, yeah. I signed that contract on instruction from the National Executive Committee because the National Executive Committee was simply informed by the president in a meeting in over, I think it probably was no longer than 10-15 seconds in that long meeting to say, listen, I got X amount of money for you and you will be invited to come to the opening of your technical center. And by acclamation, the NEC agreed, and so I have no other choice My job is to implement the decisions of the NEC, and so I had to go and finalize that on the basis of an agreement that had already been struck outside of that meeting. So my complaint was that that was incorrect in the manner it was presented to the NEC. It was wrong to do it in that manner because there was no due diligence conducted prior to that, to agreeing to that. And so we were left with a bag of goods that we simply could not then go and turn down, or at least not me, because I'm an individual responsible for implementing NEC decisions. And so, but it was presented in the wrong way. And I felt that was, from a governance standpoint, was absolutely the wrong thing to do and the wrong way to go about it.
Dennis Mumble, let me thank you very much for your time, former SAFA CEO.